All right, welcome into the postgame show, everybody. The buzzer just sounded here at Ball Arena. The Nuggets fall to the Pacers 125 to 120 is your final. It's the first four-game losing streak of the season for the Denver Nuggets. Fans are filing out of Ball Arena right now. This is a lot of what we talked about on Friday night. The Nuggets are now in deep trouble of going into the play-in tournament. The Lakers beat the Thunder earlier today. So, this is a scenario where you realistically could see the Nuggets in the play-in. Now, there's still 3 games to go. But they're going to have to go at least 2-1 to avoid the play-in tournament. With this loss, they actually will fall to the 5 seed behind Golden State. Now, the good news is that the Nuggets have the tiebreaker over the Golden State Warriors. So if they do end up tied with Golden State at the end of the regular season, they would be ahead of the Golden State Warriors. But man, like I said on Friday night, this is just the worst time of year for this team to have their worst stretch of the season. And that's exactly what we're seeing right now with the Denver Nuggets. As always, feel free to give me your thoughts in the comments section. I want to check in how everybody's feeling. This was obviously something that we talked about on Friday. This team just does not look right now. I mean, Nikola Jokic goes for a 40-point triple-double, and the defense just could not get the stops they needed. It was a lot like we saw on Friday night against the Golden State Warriors. The Nuggets actually had a pretty good first quarter. Nikola Jokic had 21 points in the first quarter and obviously finishes with 41. But they had a 9-point lead at the end of the first quarter. In Golden State, it was 10. The Nuggets going into tonight's game were 31-7 when they won the first quarter, 17-3 here at Ball Arena. So it's not looking super promising right now for the Denver Nuggets. Now, again, I hope this is something that they can get worked out over the next week, the remaining 3 games of the regular season. But I will say before the game, Michael Malone was asked about Jamal Murray, if he can be ready come playoff time. And Coach Malone said, well, we hope. And he did go as far to say, this isn't an injury management situation with Jamal Murray. He is legitimately hurt. He is legitimately dealing with an injury. So, that's kind of was to be expected because, like I talked about on Friday night, if you caught the show then, the fact that Jamal missed the game in Minnesota or against Minnesota and missed the game in Golden State, that was a pretty big tell that he is legitimately hurt right now, because if he had any chance of playing, those were 2 massive games. And tonight was a massive game also. Look, the remainder of their schedule, unfortunately for the Nuggets, are all massive games, because if they want to avoid the play-in tournament, they're going to have to go at least 2-1 minimum. If they can go 2-1, then I think they're safe as far as avoiding the play-in. But the home court advantage in the first round is looking more and more bleak. Now, again, I've said all along, I really don't care if they get the 5 or 6 seed, as long as this team is as rested and healthy as possible. But I wasn't expecting them to have the roughest stretch of the season in the final 2 weeks of the year. That's what is obviously very concerning right now for the Nuggets. We will hear from Nuggets head coach Michael Malone here in just a bit. I'm sure he'll be talking to the media here in about 5 minutes or so. So we'll try to bring you that as D-Mac's down there posting all that for us. So final 3 games of the season. They will get 2 days off. Hopefully that helps rejuvenate the team. Hopefully they can work on some things in practice. But they play the Kings coming up on Wednesday in Sacramento. And then they're back here at Ball Arena for the final home game of the year against the Memphis Grizzlies. And then the final game of the season is at the Houston Rockets. I was saying a couple of weeks ago that could potentially be for the 2 seed. Well, unfortunately, that's absolutely out of the question at this point because Houston has pretty much solidified. I'm pretty sure mathematically, let's see here, they're 51-27. The Nuggets are 47-32, and they have the tie. Well, that would be for the tiebreaker. That dream is gone. In fact, the Rockets have actually clinched their division. They still technically could get the 3 seed. They're a game and a half back of the LA Lakers, and they do have the tiebreaker over LA. So the 3 seed is still in play. They're almost for sure going to have to go 3-0 in order to get the 3 seed in the West. But like I said, currently sitting in the 5 seed, Golden State does have 2 games in hand on the Nuggets as well. The Nuggets are 47-32. Golden State is 46-31. And the Timberwolves are right on the Nuggets' heels. They're just a half game back of the Nuggets. And again, they have the tiebreaker as well. So the Nuggets are going to have to dig deep and find a way to win basketball games down the stretch here in order to avoid the play-in tournament, because with the way they're playing right now, unfortunately, it just looks like that's where this team is headed. And I mean, everybody around the Nuggets in the standings have been playing really well. The Rockets are 8-2 in their last 10. The Lakers are 5-5, but they've won their last 2. The Warriors are 7-3, but they've won 5 in a row. The Timberwolves are 7-3. They've won 5 in a row. The Clippers are 8-2. They've won 4 in a row. Kawhi Leonard looks like the Kawhi Leonard of 7-8 years ago. So it's going to be a really interesting race to the finish here. In fact, they play the Kings coming up on Wednesday. Sacramento is in the 9 seed currently, and then the Dallas Mavericks look like they're going to make it as the 10 seed in the West. So, like I said, feel free to leave me your comments in the comments section, and I'd like to get to some of those. Let's see here. Tim says Jamal was missed. We win this with him in. Yeah, I mean, look, the unfortunate thing, like I said to start the show, is I would not count on Jamal Murray being back for the rest of the regular season. In fact, Michael Malone said as much, like he's hoping that Jamal Murray is ready for the start of the playoffs. So I would be very surprised if we see Jamal Murray for the final 3 games or even that last game in Houston of the regular season. It was weird. Malone, he was like, it started off as a day-to-day thing, and then it just sort of got worse, and he doesn't even know what really happened. So it's like whatever injury, I mean, it's a hamstring, and those are very, very tricky. So whatever Jamal is dealing with, it just hasn't seemed to get better. And unfortunately for Jamal, and I hate to put this sort of moniker on him, but it's just not been his season as far as the injury luck goes. And really over the last couple of years, I mean, going back to last season against the Minnesota Timberwolves, he was really, really hurt in that playoff series. Broncos fan for life says, just wow. Yeah, it's weird. This is a weird feeling during the Jokic era, and especially this year. It's their first 4-game losing streak of the season. And, if this happened in like middle of December or early January or somewhere in the dog days of the NBA season, I don't know if it would feel as bad as it does right now. But the fact that this is happening in the final couple of weeks of the regular season when this team is fighting to stay in the top 4 of the Western Conference just adds to the drama of this team. I was talking to some of the other muggles here, and I was telling them, I've been asking the question for months now on this show, who are the Denver Nuggets? Like, I still don't know exactly who this team is. The only thing I know for sure about the Nuggets right now is that Nikola Jokic is having the best season of his career. He has just been unbelievable this year for the Nuggets. I mean, he gets a 41-point triple-double, 15 rebounds, 13 assists, and you lose this game. And I got to tell you, like, the Pacers have a really good offense, and I said to the guys before Malone came in for his pregame press conference, this is going to be a really difficult task for the Nuggets on the defensive end because the Pacers are a juggernaut on the offensive end, and the Nuggets defense is just atrocious right now. There's no other way to put it. They're 24th in the NBA. And remember, I said to start the year, they don't need to be elite on the defensive end. The year they won their NBA championship, they were right around the middle of the pack as far as defensive rating goes. And they showed that you can win in the playoffs that way. They were the number one clutch defense team in the NBA at that point, though. But 24th, they've got to be able to figure out a way to clean it up on the defensive end. I do believe that they have the personnel in there to do it. It's just they look extremely slow, and they don't look like they're communicating very well on the defensive end. It really is just that simple. I mean, the turnovers again are something we talked about in the loss to the Golden State Warriors. They had 25 in their last 10 games. The Nuggets are averaging 16.7 turnovers a game, 16.7 over their last 10. So that is obviously something that this team is really going to have to clean up. I'm trying to see how many turnovers they had this evening. Let me look on the old box score here. They actually only had 13 tonight, which is a pretty good improvement from what we've been seeing over the last couple of weeks. Yet they still just can't figure out a way to get this victory. It really is just something wild that's going on with the Nuggets defensively right now, and they've had issues with this all year. Jalen Pickett gets the start again tonight. I thought he really struggled on both ends of the floor. Look, I've been praising Jalen Pickett. I really do think he's one of the better stories overall this year for the Nuggets, but he really, really struggled tonight. He had 4 points in 24 minutes, just 2 of 5 shooting, 0 of 2 from beyond the arc. In fact, in the first half of this game, I mean, Nikola Jokic at halftime had 29 points, 6 rebounds, and 9 assists. The Nuggets led by 5. It was 66-61, but they were 3 for 17 from beyond the arc. All made three-pointers were from Nikola Jokic. Michael Porter Jr., Aaron Gordon, and Jalen Pickett combined for 8 points in the first half. Let me say that again. Michael Porter Jr., Aaron Gordon, and Jalen Pickett, 3 of your 5 starters, combined for 8 points in the first half. Nikola Jokic needs help. He cannot do this alone. Now, I got to give credit to Christian Braun tonight because he came along for the ride with Nikola Jokic. In fact, I believe it's a career high in points for Christian Braun. He had 30 points tonight on 12 of 16 shooting from the field, and he was 3 for 3 from beyond the arc, and he was also 3 for 3 from the free throw line. He had 8 rebounds and 4 assists. Christian Braun really was the only other Nugget other than Nikola Jokic who really brought it tonight. They've got to figure out a way to get Michael Porter Jr. going early on in games. He kind of picked it up as the game went along, but he just struggled shooting the 3-ball tonight as well. He was just 1 of 9 from 3. And like I've said in the past, you know, when Michael is struggling to shoot the ball from outside, I would like to see him try to get to the rim more and just see a shot go down, draw a foul, get to the free throw line. And he seemed like he started to do that as the game went on, but it was just too little too late at that point for Michael. I mean, Joker took 33 shots tonight. That's too many. And 11 3-pointers. Now, in Jokic's defense, in him taking 11 3-pointers, the Pacers just decided to give him the 3-point shot. They really were just kind of leaving him uncovered out there. So he's shooting the 3-ball at a 42% clip. So if he wants to shoot a 3-ball 11 times in a game, okay. I mean, that's fine if they're going to give it to him, but you're not going to win a lot of basketball games if Nikola Jokic is taking 11 3-point attempts. It's just not what the Nuggets do best, and it's not what Nikola Jokic does best, although he is shooting the 3-ball at the highest clip of his career. I thought Russ was pretty good tonight overall. Malone did take him out at around the 6-minute and 46-second mark of the fourth quarter, brought back Jalen Pickett into the game, which was a little bit of an interesting decision. I was curious to see if Jalen Pickett was going to actually close this game out, but it turns out Russ came back in with about 43 seconds to go. I'm guessing that was more for defensive purposes. So Russ did close this game out. It just the Nuggets are just not getting enough from the others, other than Joker and Christian Brown, who combined for 71 points. I mean, MPJ had 15, Gordon had 5. I'm telling you, Aaron Gordon, he's not going to say this, but he just doesn't look right health-wise right now. I really do wonder how injured that calf still is, or if he's got other issues going on. I don't know, but he just doesn't have the same burst that we're accustomed to seeing Aaron Gordon have. He really struggled on both ends of the floor, I thought, tonight. Peyton Watson also, I mean, he gives you 3 points. It was cool seeing Julian Strawther get back into the game. I thought he actually had a pretty good stint there at the beginning of that second quarter. He came in and gave them some good minutes, gave them some production, but then that was about it. Once Julian Strawther did what he did in that first stint with the second unit in the second quarter, he was just kind of nowhere to be seen after that. And then DJ gives you 0 points. The bench continues to be an issue, unfortunately, for the Nuggets. All right, let's get some more of your comments here. Let's see. Mr. Punch Rock Groin says they won't win another game this season. I mean, I wouldn't go that far, but it's not looking good. They look all out of whack. So I understand the frustration. All right, my guy Miles says, I feel so bad for those home fans who paid a lot to sell out again and see a crappy performance by their home team. We're going to be playing in the play-in. I'm assuming what you're saying. Have a great show, Dan. I got to go. Yeah. I was getting some tweets at halftime about how I need to apologize to Nuggets fans for being so hard on them after the Warriors game. Look, like I told you all, I'm just trying to be as honest as I possibly can be. I'm not going to do the Homer shtick of everything's okay, they're going to be fine. I'm just telling you what I'm honestly seeing. And look, you all see it too, okay? There is something not right with this team. It's plainly obvious. Now, look, I also said this after the Golden State game. If Jamal Murray can come back in the playoffs and be healthy and be the Jamal Murray that we've seen just go nuclear in the playoffs, they've got a shot. It really is that simple. But that's a big question right now with the health of Jamal Murray. And that is honestly probably what my biggest concern with this team is. It really is. I mean, I've got a lot of concerns. The defense, like I said earlier, is just atrocious right now. They can't stop anybody. The 3-point defense specifically, the blow-bys were very apparent again tonight, and the help from the others just isn't there. Now, again, Christian Brown, excellent game, but him and Jokic combined for 71 points, and it wasn't enough because the defense is struggling so mightily. So it's going to be interesting to see these final 3 games of the season. I think we're going to figure out a lot about this team to see kind of where they're at overall. My guy Kevin says, where's the apology, DT? I'm not apologizing. I am not apologizing for being hard on this team. I'm just giving it to you straight, okay? What do you want me to say? They're not in a good place right now, everyone. It's plainly obvious. Let's see. Ali Sir says, 5th seed most likely, Warriors have winning momentum. Yeah, if we go back to the standings here, the Nuggets are 47-32. They're technically tied as far as games back go with the Golden State Warriors. The problem for the Nuggets is the Warriors have 2 games in hand. Now, the Nuggets do have the tiebreaker, but with the way the Warriors are playing right now, I think they're like 20-2 with Steph and Jimmy Butler in the starting lineup. They're on fire, and they're catching fire at the right time of year. And unfortunately for the Denver Nuggets, they're going through their worst stretch of the season at the worst possible time. It is what it is. So, we will we'll see how hard this team fights as we go along here. Okay, let's get some more of your comments here. Let's see. Tony says, I think we have to start questioning if Malone is losing the locker room. His lineups are all over the place and inconsistent, and the players are playing like they don't care about what Malone is saying. I mean, give me some specifics. I won't disagree with you there. I don't really see the players not caring about what Malone says. I just don't think they have the personnel in order to do it. Now, with his lineups being all over the place, I mean, you're right, but I don't think that's because Malone is just trying to experiment with his lineups at this point in the year. He's having to do this because they've been so injured. So he really is having to experiment with his lineups. And I'll tell you what, having Jamal Murray out really throws a wrench into their lineup plans. I mean, they're going to keep Russ coming off the bench, I would assume, and start Jalen Pickett until Jamal's back because they're trying to get some sort of scoring punch coming off the bench. Now, like I said, after the loss to Golden State on Friday, I really would like to see Jalen Pickett and Russell Westbrook as the guard pairing with that second unit. But what I would like to see different is Jalen Pickett running that second unit, running the offense, being the actual point guard, and then you move Russ to the to the two guard position, the slasher dunker spot, whatever you want to call it. And it just seems like he's just trying to run the point with that second unit, and it's not working. So that is something where I'll be, a little critical of Michael Malone there. All right, looks like we've got about a minute here of Russell Westbrook in the Nuggets locker room. Let's go ahead and take a listen to what Russ had to say after the Nuggets' fourth consecutive loss.
You guys need to clean up right now and get ready for the end of the regular season?
I'm not sure, to be honest.
Your coach just mentioned the urgency of the situation, trying to avoid the play-in right now. Do you feel like in this locker room there's a sense of urgency?
I don't know, man. Not sure.
Michael Malone has called this team one of the most resilient in the league this season. You obviously are able to draw from so many experiences. What can you kind of try to draw from to help this team in this situation like this where you're going?
I don't know. I don't have the answer for you, man. I wish I did, but unfortunately, I don't. Yeah.
What's frustrating you the most right now?
Probably just losing.
Where's the confidence that this group can figure something out in the next 3 games and be on the right path heading into the postseason?
I hope it's high. I can't speak for everybody in the locker room, but my head stays high. Get ready for Wednesday.
Thank you.
Okay, that was interesting. So DMAC is telling me Russ was apparently required to be available by the league, and that was his post-game availability. Wow. Yeah, so Russ is not in a good place right now, clearly. Now, look, this isn't shocking if you followed the career of Russell Westbrook. He has a tendency to be short with the media at times, especially when things are tough. But I got to tell you, I praised Russell Westbrook a lot earlier in the season, and I stand by that because I thought he was a very positive player for the Nuggets for, a good chunk of the regular season, especially early on in the year. He had that 2-man game going with Nikola Jokic. I thought the energy he brought off the bench was fantastic. Helping coach up the young guys, like all that stuff is great. But Russ has been struggling over the last month or so, to say the least. That's not a good look for Russell Westbrook. And especially at this time of year, and just a reminder, Russell Westbrook, after their 2 losses previously here at Ball Arena, the first game against Minnesota, just left the locker room, did not speak to the media, just left. And then the second game, it was after the Spurs loss. He was asked by Brendan Vogt of DNVR to talk, and he was like, no, I decline. I'm not talking. Well, this time he was required to talk, and that was his interview. Now, look, I can sit here and criticize Russ for that, and I think rightfully so. But at this point, it's like, what do you want him to say? What can Russell Westbrook say right now that would make you feel better about what the team's going through? At this point in the year, none of that stuff matters. It's just wins and losses on the court for this team, especially when they are in desperation mode to try to avoid the play-in tournament, which they are in in danger of going into. I mean, 2 weeks ago, it would have been pretty wild to say that this team would be in danger of going into the play-in tournament, but that's exactly where they are right now. All right, Jim says, I love Jokic, and the Nuggets need to do him solid and trade to a contender, not to waste his career. Yeah, that's not going to happen. What the Nuggets need to do is, and I talked about this a little bit on Friday night. Now, this is all predicated on if the Nuggets falter in the playoffs. And what I mean by falter is if they get eliminated in the second round or sooner, that's what I mean by faltering in the playoffs. If that is going to happen, which unfortunately right now, it very well could. If that does happen, they're going to need to make some major changes in the offseason. And in my opinion, the only person completely off the table is Nikola Jokic. I mean, that's what we're talking about here. And I use the Avalanche as sort of an example of what they would need to do. Now, what the Avs did was a little interesting because they did all of that during this season and a little bit last year too. They traded for Casey Middlestat. They ship out Bo Byram to the Buffalo Sabres, bringing Casey Middlestat. That didn't work either. So they made a major overhaul in the middle of the season. They got 2 new goaltenders. They trade for Brock Nelson and Charlie Coyle. They bring back Eric Johnson. They trade for Lindgren and VC of the Rangers. I mean, they did a lot of stuff. I think that is what we're going to potentially see, and I hope we see over the offseason with the Denver Nuggets. I think it's plainly obvious right now that the Nuggets are too top heavy. They just do not have the depth to help Nikola Jokic. I was thinking about this during the game. When is the last time the Nuggets had a significant lead in the first quarter like they had the last 2 games? They had a 10-point lead after the first quarter against Golden State. They had a 9-point lead after the first quarter tonight. When is the last game that the Nuggets had a big lead in the first quarter and they were able to sustain that lead for the rest of the game? I mean, I can't think of a game this season. Maybe there's 1 or 2 in there, and if you can remember it, please let me know. But it's like clockwork. When the Nuggets get up by a significant amount in the first quarter, you just know that they're not going to hold on to that lead. Now, that doesn't always mean they're going to lose the game. That's not what I'm saying. But it just seems like they cannot sustain leads. And look, a lot of that is because Nikola Jokic goes out of the game and the second unit they just cannot hold up the lead. They just can't do it. All right, DMAC just posted Coach Malone, so I'd be really curious to what Malone has to say after the Nuggets' 4th consecutive loss. Let's take a listen. Are we going to get grumpy Malone? Are we going to get optimistic Michael Malone? Well, let's find out. Here is the Nuggets head coach.
Coach, feels like you guys get used to having the Murray Jokic actions down the stretch. Just what happened with some of the turnovers?
Yeah, I think in the only 13 for the game, but I think 6 in the fourth quarter. Yeah, just unfortunate. And I was just telling Russ, I got him out. I thought Russ was great tonight, and he'd run a long stretch. I got Jalen back in the game. Then I had that inner conversation. Hey, I got to get Russ back out there. And then Jalen did a few things, but really costly turnovers at a key stretch of the game. And we've become so accustomed to seeing us execute and make big shots and get the right shot. And obviously we just didn't have that tonight. Quarter, it's 2 and 3. We guarded nobody. You give up 37 and 37. That's problematic. And obviously we go 8 of 31 from 3. They make 15. The 3-point line was a big part of tonight as well. But I'll start with me. We've lost 4 games in a row, and I'm never going to this guy, that guy. How about me as a head coach? Not doing my job to the best of my ability, and that's what I challenge over our guys. We haven't lost 4 in a row in a long time, And it's really easy, to be together and say family when you win, but when you're losing games, can you stay together? And do you have the balls? Do you have the courage to go home and look in the mirror and say, what can I be doing better to help this team? And Sacramento, Memphis, Houston, no one's going to feel sorry for us. And so we put ourselves in this hole, and we only have ourselves to pull ourselves out of it. And I look forward to seeing how we respond.
Michael, you guys hold held them to 9 points on 8 shots, but you still give up 125. Where did the defense come up short for you?
3-point line. Yeah, I mean, Obi Toppin, he had a hell of a game. Naismith hits 3, Obi hits 4, Turner hits 4, Walker off the bench hits 3. I mean, so I would say that's 2 games against Tyrese Halliburton. Not only do we hold him down, but game 1 he had 11 field goal attempts. Tonight he had 8 field goal attempts. But he had 15 assists in game 1 and 13 tonight. We had some defensive breakdowns in our rotations that proved to be costly in a lot of those. And you just can't have those. We just had some costly mistakes at inopportune times that were just too much to overcome.
It seems like so many of those are corner threes in particular, both in transition and pick and roll actions. Is it one of those cases where even if you address that, if the technique isn't better, you're just going to give up something else?
I would hope not. I would hope through doing it correctly and doing it with multiple effort, you can be there. We did it in game 1 in Indiana, which helped us win the game. We took away the 3-point shot. Obviously, we did a poor job tonight. I give them credit. They're 8-2 going into tonight's game. They're playing well, high-powered offensive team. But you can't defend for 2 quarters. It can't be just quarter 1, quarter 4, and again, to give up that many points in quarters 2 and 3 just hurt us.
You mentioned before the game you're trying to plug a lot of holes. In your mind, what's the biggest thing you need more of right now?
I would say, and I've been saying this for a while, going into tonight's game, I don't think we started the same lineup 2 games in a row in the last 15 games. So health, I mean, obviously Jamal Murray is such an important part to this team. And we still have enough to win when Jamal's out, but I also like our chances a hell of a lot better when Jamal's healthy. So aside from health, Katie, obviously the defense, I've talked about it a ton. That's been the most disappointing part of this year is just the huge drop off. I mean, you're
Massive
talking,
drop off.
8 to 12. We didn't go from 8 to 15. We've gone from 8 to, I don't even know what it is right now. Maybe
24.
Mid 20s, and that's a severe drop off, and you just can't rely upon your offense to outscore teams. I mean, think about it. Tonight, 33 assists, only 13 turnovers. Scored 120 points, had 76 in the paint, had 15 on the break, and we lose because of our defense wasn't able to give us the stops when we needed them to. I mean, like T.J. McConnell came in the game. I mean, it was Bob Cousy reincarnated, just dribbling wherever he wanted, made big play after big play. And we have to be able to guard guys, sit down and guard guys. So, we got a couple days before our next game. We fly to SAC. They're fighting for something. Memphis is fighting for something. And who knows what Houston will be fighting for last game of the season. But we just we have to get this bad taste out of our mouth because I hate losing. And I know it's driving me crazy.
All right. Okay, so there is Nuggets head coach Michael Malone after the loss. I'm being made aware of something that I did not see during the game, everyone. And I wanted to share this with you here real quick before we get out of here. Apparently there was, and if you're watching on the TV broadcast, maybe you saw this, but apparently there was a little incident between Peyton Watson and Aaron Gordon off the bench. Let me play this for you here real quick. Not good, folks. Yeah, that was Peyton Watson and Aaron Gordon getting into it in the first quarter of this game, where the Nuggets actually were playing pretty well. And you've got to imagine that's stuff going on the defensive end, miscommunication. But that is not a good look. Not at all. And again, especially at this time of year, the Nuggets are going to have to dig deep here, folks. I mean, I don't know what else to tell you. They just seem like they're falling apart at the worst time of the year. And who knows? maybe they can figure this out over the last 3 games and into the postseason. Maybe Jamal can come back and be the spark plug that this team needs. But it is not good what's going on here with the Denver Nuggets. And it's just weird because this is their first 4-game losing streak of the season. So we haven't had this taste in our mouths at all so far this year. And it's weird to see a 4-game losing streak when you have Nikola Jokic playing in these games. Obviously, he didn't play against the San Antonio Spurs, but yeah. So whatever this team needs to figure out, they've got to do it fast, really fast, and not just on the court stuff like you just saw. You know, there might be some locker room stuff going on. And I've said all along, this is one of the closest tight-knit locker rooms in the NBA, and they are. So that is very, very concerning to see here, but we'll see what they can do. They've got 2 days off, and then they play Sacramento coming up on Wednesday. They've got the Grizzlies here back at home for the final home game of the season on Friday, and then they wrap up the regular season on Sunday, April 13th in Houston. And who knows what the Rockets are playing for at that point. I mean, they might be locked into the 2 seed. Very well could be. So the Nuggets are going to have to at least go 2-1 in these final 3 games to avoid the play-in tournament. All right, everybody, that's going to do it for the post-game show here tonight where I'm live at Ball Arena. They're taking down, let me show you here if I can. They're taking down the court here, it looks like. And I don't know when the Avs play here next. They might be converting this to the ice, but we'll see. In fact, let me check this here real quick. When do the Avalanche play at Ball Arena next? They play Tuesday. So they've got a day. They might just be converting an hour for morning skate tomorrow morning for the Avs. So it looks like they're getting underway with the conversion of the court. These they are tearing it down here, folks. As the Nuggets fall to the Pacers, 125-120 is your final. The Nuggets have lost 4 in a row, and we will see if the Nuggets can get back in the win column coming up on Wednesday evening against the Sacramento Kings. That is it. Thank you so much for listening to In the Paint right here on Altitude Sports Radio 92.5.